All right, was good. So, now that you understand what Node.js is, and you finally set up your Node.js and VS Code, so it's time to write our first real Node.js program. And by the end of this lesson, you should understand, or you must understand, how Node runs JavaScript, and the difference between the difference between running your JavaScript with your Node terminal and also executing files using Node. So, and the next thing you need to understand that you'll be understanding from this lesson is how to use CommonJS or using ES module, and how to structure your simple script. So basically, let's get into the real deal for today. So I have my file index.js. So now let me type in a statement or a code inside there. Let's say the code that inside here is basically to uh print out something. So I say welcome to TechVev um backend engineering with Node.js. So I have this. So now if you open your terminal to run this code, so you could do node index.js. So you see that we have this result. So you see this message printed out. So which means that Node.js basically executes JavaScript outside your browser. So now there's another way of executing your JavaScript. So we could use terminal. So and this is how it is done. So you could use terminal to execute your JavaScript. So you could enter node without the name of the file. So can you see that? So giving us, it's asking us for a prompt. So I could say something like console.log welcome to TechVav backend engineering with Node.js. So can you see that? So now we could run our JavaScript code inside our terminal. So that's basically the two ways of running our JavaScript code outside the browser. You could run it, you could execute the file, or you could run it inside the terminal. But the most important and the most common is, and the most sensible is to execute a file. So now you need to exit from this terminal. So you could use .exit. So we're out of it now. So now this basically the reason why you could use your terminal is for testing quick ideas, like you just quickly want to know, okay, how does this really work in Node? So just something like you just want to test an idea. So now the next thing is modules. So how to import and export um in bit in between your sorry how to import and export within your Node.js application. So Node.js project use modules to organize code. I would love you to think of modules as separate boxes of code that you can actually reuse. So you could put something inside one box and reuse it in another. So there are two type of ways of reusing. Probably there are two type of ways you can reuse. Let's say functions or things you have in different files. So we could use our CommonJS, or you could use ES module. So let me show you an example. So let me create a new file. Let me create a new file here. Let me call it math.js. And sorry, when you want to start your JavaScript, your Node.js application, you need to do something called npm init npm init so that we can have our package.json. So we use it to manage things regarding our Node.js application. So if I run this, it said cannot be loaded because running script is disabled. So if you're having this problem, you could go to settings. Um, you could go to settings, then I think you could go to scripts. So you could go to allow PowerShell. So I think it is so I think we'll run this. So I can come here and run this again. So it is running now. So we have our package.json. So it consists of things regarding this our Node.js application. So like I said, the first way we need to practice importing and exporting in between modules in Node.js is something called using a CommonJS. So let's say I define a function here called add. Is This is a function, so you should have known what a function is from your JavaScript class. So if I return a plus b, and if I want to export it, so I could do module dot, I could say something like module dot exports, then I could export the add. So if I come to index, I could import this by saying const uh, add. Now I could say require. So we basically use require to import. So can you see we have access to the math file? So I could say something like console.log add, then we pass in 6 and 10. So if I run this file, if I run node index.js, you see that we have 16. 6 plus 10 is 16. So we are the function that's actually doing that is not in this file. It's in what is in math.js. So we actually imported it using require.math. So this is one way of doing this. So another way is by using ES module, and that's the most popular now. So basically, we actually import and export. So you could come to your package.json, then you change the type, you specify the type here. So you could say the type should be module. So if you press OK, see it here. So at the moment we are using CommonJS, so you could change it to module. If you change it to module, so this uh so if you change it to module, so if you go to your math.js, so instead of doing module.export, you could just say something like you could just export the function. Okay, see, as simple as that. So you could just export the function. Then you come to let me close this. So you could just export the function. Then you come to your index.js, or is it? Yeah. So you could go to your math.js. Okay. Now inside your index.js, instead of using require, you could just say import what add from math.js. So can you see that? So we are exporting from our math.js, then we are importing like this from what our index.js. Now remember, if you use just an export, if you use just export, you need to get the function like this, or you need to get whatever it is like this by deconstructing it. But if you do something like export default add, now instead of getting it like this, you need to make sure that you're getting it like this. So you don't need to deconstruct it, because it means that you're only returning that thing from that file. So now, but if you don't use export default add, and you're just using just export, it means that you can return a lot of things from that file. So if you have add, so if I run this file index.js, so I cannot find, okay, I need to specify it with .js. So if I run this, you can see that we have 16. If I change this to 18 and I run this, we have 20 what? We have 28. So now that's basically that for that. Uh in that's basically that for modules that you can import using CommonJS, or you can import using uh ES module. ES module is the most popular. So the next thing is you can actually export a lot of things. So I could say something like export. You could come here and say export app name. So you could give this app name, let's say gray investment. So you say export const, since the app name is a variable. So export it, then come here and say something like import. So since we are using export, so I could get that app name. Can you see that? So meaning I could get the app name, then I could say something like console.log app name. So if I run this, I see that growing investments and 28. So that's basically that for this lesson, and I would love to see you in the next lesson.